Welcome everyone to OnPodcast, the On Microsoft podcast, where we talk about Microsoft stuff on a podcast. And today you're joined by me, Kareem Anderson, and the world's greatest co-host.
Arif Bacchus.
Yeah, and we got some news. It's not a heavy load, but the wheels keep on turning in Microsoft land, and we're going to follow them to wherever they go. This week we got information on tabbed Windows coming back. So the revival of Zombieland sets, I guess.
and
What else are we talking about?
we also have a story here about Microsoft working on some improvements for the Windows 11 search box and also the Windows 10 search box because Windows 10 is not dead yet.
Not yet, just like Sets apparently wasn't.
Oh,
And then we'll be talking about Android 12L being confirmed, not just hoped for, but confirmed for possible future Microsoft devices, even the Surface Duo, ideally. And then we're moving into our fast recap, where we'll be talking about improvements, to the Xbox improvements that fix quick resume and share buttons and stuff on the wireless controllers. What else?
we also have some old news about Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer getting candid about the company's recent acquisitions. Steve Ballmer, all uncensored, basically.
Yeah, unleashed more than usual. Then we'll also be talking about the Windows Subsystem for Android on Windows 11 getting some updates, some much needed ones. There's still a lot to be done. And what else?
Xbox Cloud Gaming possibly getting keyboard and mouse support.
Yes, and then we'll be moving into our week ahead, which is our favorite section where we're going to tout some of our reviews and some hardware that we're talking about, and that you have a Dell 4K USB-C monitor that you'll be talking about.
Yep, and I also purchased Qualcomm Snapdragon Developer Kit. It has the Snapdragon 7C processor in it. I found it on eBay listed for like I think it was like $80, and I'm like, hey, maybe it's something interesting to try out if Windows on ARM. How is it going right now?
Yeah, Lenovo's got a bunch of actually stuff coming up. I also have a super powered device coming from them, like an i9. Like they're trying to knock the doors off of this device, and I'll give you some specs and stuff and details about it at the end of the podcast. But first things first. Yeah, I wrote about this, and we've written about this for over 2 years now since Windows, or maybe it's actually been longer than that, since Windows introduced sets.
I think it
We're
was
gonna
like
have to
2017, right? So we're talking about like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, Microsoft's Windows team back in Windows 10 development phases, we're introducing a thing called sets, where we're going to be able to basically tab any window, not just the file explorer, but basically any app where you can open multiple instances and keep them organized on your window. And I know some people have mentioned in the comments of this particular article that we have functions in the taskbar for stuff like that, but this would have been in your windows on your screen, so you don't have to kind of shuffle down the taskbar for this. You could basically flip through different instances of an app instead of using the hamburger menu per se and have it all tapped. Now it looks like they're reviving this. Microsoft kind of sunset that entire project, said sets is not coming, don't expect it, move on with your life. And here's a nice acrylic hamburger menu for you instead. Now it looks like with the code that's been hidden in the most recent dev version of Windows 11 for insiders, someone, I believe Rafael Rivera, I think is
Yep.
his name, found code, and then since then other people are kind of experimenting and find it, that they can open it up in the File Explorer. So you can have multiple instances of things open in File Explorer. So if you have, your downloads, quick access, if you have it organized by videos, pictures, however you have it set up, you will now be able to have tabs at the top to kind of flip through all of those pretty quickly. So we're all hoping that this is going to become a full thing, but as of right now, this is just code that's been hidden, that isn't fully functional. There's still issues with it, but I'd say just judging by people who have been walking through it and using it, it's about 70 to 75% complete.
But it's only in the file explorer at the moment, right? You
Correct.
can't open up like third party apps. Like I'm thinking about Edge because Edge is where you have all your tabs, but you can't open third party apps or even apps like the Microsoft Store and suddenly have a bunch of different tabs along the top like you used to have with sets.
Well, this is where I wrote in my piece that maybe Microsoft's Windows team is rethinking the way sets is approached, and it's no longer going to hoist upon developers to kind of implement this thing, but realize that people get the most functionality out of something like this in File Explorer, where
Yeah.
if you're transferring files between, say, USB, SSG drives, or between local storage, things like that. Instead of having two file windows open, you can just have it, you can flip through the tabs. Same thing for moving files of that nature. I mean, there's a lot. This File Explorer is very robust, and this is why Microsoft is kind of taking its time to kind of redesign it and tool with it and fix with it. I mean, just for instance, I was opening up some files to do some graphic designs, graphic work for our podcast, and in it, built in it, is an Adobe function that allows you to open up your cloud menu from Windows File Explorer. So it's baked into that. And so this is the kind of stuff, and the reason why Windows has been very hesitant, because a lot of companies have built in uh, explicit code to use the File Explorer. And if you start tinkering with that and breaking it, you're going to be breaking a lot of enterprise, a lot of admin stuff that's already baked into it. So I think, with all that being said, I hope this does come to File Explorer. I think it's very needed, and people will actually get a lot of use out of this in the future. So I hope this isn't just something that shows up and then disappears once again.
I think Mac OS already has the same feature in the Finder where you could hit, I think it's Command Shift Option T or some weird keyboard combination because Macs have weird keyboard combinations all the time. But I think you open it somehow involving the T key, and you get this cool little tabbed interface in Finder. In seeing Raphael unlock this, it seems a lot similar to what Apple has been doing in Mac OS, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, like I said, it's very useful, and it's just easy instead of having to guide down the sidebar and open up several, like I said, several instances of that. And then, some of us have a little ADHD in us, and
Yeah.
so you may be using a project, open up tons of files to get to a bunch of different versions of Excel or Excel projects you've been using or PowerPoint or whatever, and you forget where those are at on your desktop. This will be now you'll be able to contain all that in one window and kind of flip through all of that when necessary. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Well, that's one unconfirmed feature for Windows 11, but a feature that just was confirmed is the search highlights feature for Windows 11. Now, this was promised in the changelog for the most recent build. Microsoft mentioned that it's something that's coming on the way, and it's not only for Windows 11 and Windows 10. It's a feature called Search Highlights, and with it, you'll be able to basically see more stuff that you want to search for in the search box. The search box in Windows 10 and Windows 11, it'll now have fun illustrations that'll help you discover more, stay more connected, and be more productive. You'll notice notable and interesting moments like holidays and anniversaries and other educational moments in time, both globally and in your region. You should see some rich, bold content in Search Home that highlights what's special about your day to day. And if you sign in with your work or school account, which is basically Microsoft 365 we're talking about here, you'll get organizational files and contacts and other stuff from Microsoft Search in your Windows 10 or Windows 11 search box. But as we always say here every week, some people might not like this and it'll be optional. You can go into settings, privacy and security, and search settings and toggle show search highlights off if it's something that you don't necessarily like. But I'm pretty sure it's something that people will like because more of your content will be up in front and center and more stuff from the web, like stuff that's happening, like the weather or say your favorite sports or even some pictures from your OneDrive or whatnot that you were looking at. They'll be more surfaced and upfront for you to look at. But it's not something that's available today on the day that we're recording. Microsoft said they'll be coming early next week and promised that a future blog post will have more information.
Yeah, as you said, some people like it, some people won't. Judging by the screenshot that they use, I can see why some people won't because it
Right.
feels like they've rearranged widgets
To
into
put it
this
in the
section.
search, yeah.
Since they couldn't get us with it putting it off to the side of the screen or off to the right or left, they're now going to kind of shovel it into the start menu. It seems like Microsoft has been trying to find a way to contextualize information to people because they don't have the same amount of nodes and access points as Google does to everyone's information. It looks like a lot of advertising for most people. I know when I go to my Google Now section, there are things I've curated, like I follow certain publications for comics and for actors and for tech and stuff like that. And it shows up, and since it's in abundance, it seems like the kind of stuff I want to be in. I don't do the same sort of thing with Bing necessarily. And so this is why a lot of their stuff just looks like advertising. It's not things that are contextualized to you. Hopefully, over time, this section will follow that. You'll start to see If you have certain meetings at certain times, that it gives you information about what time that meeting
Yep.
is, locations for like restaurants or things like that. If it's a lunch or noon meeting, things like that. Contextualizes the things that you write. So if you have certain articles or files that are, Excel or PowerPoint or Word or whatever, it'll start to put things that, you might have researched or searches that you've done to correlate with that in that section. There's a lot that can be done that can make that area very robust. It just depends on how Microsoft decides to go about it. And that's the key here. If they take their time and allow people to put the things they want in there and then extrapolate from that what they want versus like, hey, we know you like looking at the weather, so here's a random ad for AccuWeather. Like nobody wants that.
But why is it coming to Windows 10? I think a couple years ago, was it a couple months ago, the search thing that Microsoft uses went down. So if you opened your search box on Windows 10, you literally got nothing. So is it like a cloud server side update that they're planning to roll out, or is it something that's baked into Windows 10 or and Windows 11 that will come in a featured update? Because we know Windows 10 is only getting once a year updates now, and so is Windows 11. How do you think it will be rolled out?
I think it's a cloud-based, a server-side thing that they're going to do, but I also think it's a strategic thing to do to get people to transition to Windows 11
Right, right.
much smoother. And I know that they have, what is this, 3.5, 3 years or so before the end of Windows 10. So they're going to have to get people to be, use mindful of the UI. And this is how you start to do that. You start to take, I know there are options in Windows 11 now to kind of move it over to the left-hand side, the start menu and the taskbar. You can start molding some of that stuff into the start menu in Windows 10, getting it to kind of look the same way, but off, in the same location, and then start baking all this other stuff. So when they get Windows 11, it's in the center. It's like, okay, well, I've already seen this UI. I know that I get a new contextualized start menu. Like I've seen all this stuff. It's everything I need. All my stuff's here. The admin set it up the same exact way. Windows 11 is a no-brainer versus people complaining like, oh, can you give us an extension for 3 more years of support? That's going to cost Microsoft dev time and money.
So now it's time for the third topic, which is Android 12L on
Hold on.
these.
I had one thing to say before we jump into that because this update that we're talking about that kind of hides the sets menu and talks about the updates coming to the start menu. Also brought with it, I think, a sort of controversial thing we talked about in the chat, which is ClipChamp.
Oh yeah, right. The new two inbox apps that were delivered in this Windows 11 Insider build that everyone was complaining about because you need to pay, what is it, $98 to export videos in this
Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on
Clipchamp app.
this. I know our editor in chief, he and I were going back and forth, and I was saying that this is another missed opportunity to Microsoft, at least as of right now. Things are subject to change when this becomes, a public release versus the dev release. But as of right now, all it is, it feels like Candy Crush. It's more of an advertisement. They bought the entire company to then put them in the start menu to then send people to a service fee for it. I mean, like the idea was that you would get this, turn it into iMovie, and this is how you start to get wean people off of. You don't necessarily get them off Final Cut,
Right.
but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you work them into or at least off the platform into agnostic things because this is accessible through the web. This is accessible in Windows. You can get it on Mac, things like that. This becomes your low tier version of DaVinci Resolve.
I don't know if it's something that's final yet because even though it's an inbox app right now, it is in the dev channel and things in the dev channel can change. And now that Clipchamp is in their house of apps that Microsoft has, it could change at any time. They could change the whole thing and give everyone Clipchamp for free. You never know, but even if I use what Filmora Run to Share, and I think it is $100 or $129 for a one-time thing where you buy it and there's no watermarks or anything. But I think the price that they're charging for Clipchamp is a little bit too much for a yearly subscription. They need to,
Well, yeah, and
yeah,
they're not even doing they're doing it by resolution at that. Like you can,
right,
I think it's 720p is $9 or something like
right,
that, and
yeah, yeah,
1080 is a little higher than that. I think you get four, was it four, whatever, for
yeah.
free. I just wanted to get your thoughts, and I just feel like again, this feels like Microsoft is not doing the right thing when people have been begging for an iMovie version. Like we had Windows Media Live. We've since not had it for a long time. They've tried to work with their photos and video app. People thought that this would be the second coming. You take Clipchamp, you integrate it in there. And again, I get it if they want to get people who maybe jump from Windows to Mac, but they still want to keep them within a Microsoft account. What
Right.
you do is you do the same thing you do for Office. You subsidize that by saying, "Hey, I will give you Clipchamp for 1 year free." The same way that they do, I think, their Office subscriptions when you buy a device. It's like, yeah, here's
Yep.
6 months. Try Windows. Even Adobe does 3 months on like Surface devices. So why not tell people, "Hey, you can get Clipchamp at 1080p or 2K or however high it can go for 1 year when you buy a Windows device." It's on your device. And then once they start using it, they may say like, "Hey, you know what? I do want to keep the subscription. Maybe I don't want to keep the Windows device, but I do want to keep my Microsoft account, and I do want to keep this service going on my Mac." And there, you have a person that's still paying
Well, if you guys see that the podcast is in 480p resolution next week, you
you.
know why? It's
And
because
if there's a watermark,
It's because Arif decided to switch to Clipchamp to do his video editing for free on Windows 11 and the dev channel. And if it has a
because
big giant watermark, you know why too.
you blame Microsoft for that.
Exactly. Now
All
get
right,
us
I can
into
move
the
on.
third topic, which is the Android 12L being confirmed for the Surface Duo. Confirmed in quotation marks because it's Google confirming, not Microsoft confirming.
Yeah, Google has done Microsoft a solid by confirming that they will grant Microsoft the permission to use Android 12L on the Duo device. We
Uh,
know that this is big. Like we joke about it, but think about what happened to Android 12 coming, or Android 11 coming to the original Duo. It was kind of held back because of Google's, lackadaisical approach to pushing the update through the Google Play services. Like Google many of the cards of Microsoft's fate for the Duo, and the fact that they are now saying that this, update, this dot release, is actually going to come to the Duo, which should give it, better, should help large screen devices, large screen tab or foldables and things like that. That they're going to help push this at the same time as everything else, like a Samsung Fold 4 or Fold 3, whatever comes out, or whatever other random Chinese manufacturers might get. It's just still big.
yeah.
So yeah, Google has come out in front. Not just Microsoft saying like we hope that it hits devices, but Google saying that this will reach devices is big. So we're gonna be looking forward to this later in the year. Again, this is I think Android 12 is still getting some updates to it as we speak. We don't expect to see Android 12L start to show any, I think, beta releases until a couple months from now. So, we could be seeing 12L come late summer for devices. And with that being said, there's also, the rumor that Microsoft is going to take a year off this year anyway with the Duo. So we won't be seeing the 12L come to a new device, but hopefully refining experiences from a Duo 2. Hopefully, ideally, fingers crossed for the original Duo for people who rushed out and bought one like myself. This, taking a year off, so to speak, from hardware should help Microsoft refine the software.
All right, and that said, it's now time for our fast recap and giving us 10 minutes once again. And we have a couple of different stories to get to. The first of which is the March Xbox update. Now, some of the features in the March Xbox update were in testing with Xbox insiders for a while, but the number one feature that you guys might enjoy is the ability to customize the share button on the Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X controllers. It's the new Xbox controller, basically. So now you could tweak out that button and switch it to anything you want to do. Say, open your friends list, or open another game, or open another specific app. The world is yours now. You could do anything you want with that button if you're not never you really used it to do anything relating to sharing, which is what it was intended for. And the other new feature in the March Xbox update is the ability to pin two games to quick resume. It's a big feature that people had asked for, and Microsoft also cleaned up the quick resume feature, so now it's a little more obvious which games work with quick resume and which games don't. Before, it was just a random list of titles here and there that showed up there, but now it's more clear.
Yeah, it seems like the Xbox. For those of you who still are able to get an Xbox right now, you have some cool new features coming your way. The next thing we have up is Steve Ballmer Unleashed. At the top of it. It actually is. It's more of a sensational headline than what actually is being said. He was being interviewed by the folks over at GeekWire. They have a GeekWire podcast, And they brought him on to actually talk about USA Facts, which is his nonprofit endeavor. It's an online endeavor where he basically puts disclosures for financial spending, specifically for governments and politics and whatnot. So you can kind of see how your money is being distributed. It's in the U.S., so as of right now, I believe they're trying to expand it internationally. But you can see how much, where your money is going specifically in the defense budget, where your politicians are putting, millions of dollars in campaign donations, things of that nature. That's where they brought him on to speak. But in bringing him on, and he's Steve Ballmer, he ended up wading into Microsoft acquisitions. As a former CEO, it's interesting to always see what his opinions are or what their opinions are on their predecessors. And he kind of spoke to what Satya Nadella and Microsoft has been doing since he's been gone. And we get some nice quotes from him, basically summing up that he thinks Microsoft is doing a fantastic job. Obviously biased because he's one of the company's largest stakeholders, former CEO, former co-founder. So he has every right to be bullish and optimistic on the company. But he also admits that in some of his disclosures that the Nokia deal, which I don't know why my voice is squeaking, the Nokia deal was actually a board decision, and that he, basically took a lot of flack for it. As spectacularly as it fizzled out, apparently the board wanted to do this, but didn't know or didn't have a set plan for it, and they kind of just were like, "Hey, Ballmer, do what you do best with it and get it working." He was like, "Well, we don't even know how to really do phones at scale like this," and so this is part of the reason why it fizzled out. And he, was all for, or he was backing Satya Nadella's play to basically unload that business. And as unfortunate as it was for the people of Finland who lost lots of jobs, things of that nature, that was what they did. But anyway, he goes on to basically say that they had also been looking at Activision Blizzard for some time. So this is, he's been gone for 7 years or so. He's been saying that they were trying to acquire or at least look at Activision for time prior to that, and that Microsoft got it at the best deal that they think they could have. So imagine what Activision would have sold for prior to this if they didn't have any of the allegations and things were coming down at the time that they were. But this is also prior to them having blockbuster quarters based on games like Call of Duty and some other things. Last bit of information, he's basically saying that he, what did he say? Oh, the number of acquisitions are great, and that he also thinks that they're doing a good job of the way that they're kind of transitioning these companies. He personally had questioned the LinkedIn acquisition, but he admitted that there was egg on his face because it turned out to be great. So again, these are things that that Ballmer was basically giving the pat on the back to Nadella. Lastly, what we're saying that he didn't believe in a lot of this stuff. He also, I think, another employee when asked about Ballmer mentioned that he was also big into cloud. Ballmer was, and Xbox, which are kind of two of the big things that we're talking about as of lately. That he kept investing money into cloud and into Nadella's cloud group, which helped pivot him in the CEO position. And he was very bullish on Xbox when even at the time Bill Gates, he had to basically convince Bill Gates to keep it alive and going. And as you can see now, those two things have turned out great for the company. I would recommend people go check out the podcast. His section on Microsoft is about 4 minutes. It's a 40-minute long podcast where they do talk about a ton of great things. They talk about they talk about disclosures, defense disclosures, Ukraine conflict. If Ballmer were president, what he would say during State of the Address Union, investments in behavioral health for kids, which is big, especially now that we have kids coming out of the pandemic, and we want to make sure that they are healthy and well going into the new normal. So go check it out.
And that said, third story now in the fast recap is the Windows Subsystem for Android getting updated for Windows Insiders. This launched publicly on the public version of Windows 11 a couple weeks ago, but Microsoft is always tweaking the Windows Subsystem for Android, just like they did with the Windows Subsystem for Linux. And there's a couple of new features and updates that they have now, and the most important one is now the Windows Subsystem for Android will be able to take advantage of hardware accelerated H.264 decoding. This means that apps and video apps in particular that use videos or play videos will now be able to look better and perform better on Windows 11. And some other updates, they also updated the MSAA, so for several apps and games. So now those games should perform better. And they also made improvements to general input. So your scrolling and opening and touching apps with your finger should perform a little bit better than they did in the past.
Yeah, and then the last on our list of quick action items is we're seeing several improvements for keyboard and mouse support for X5 gaming. I
Yep.
thought this would have been a no-brainer, but I can now, as I run it through and say it out loud, there are probably issues with latency that they're working on. So this is probably why it's taking some time for implementation, because we do get touch controls and we get regular controls, but maybe it's something that has to do with mouse and keyboard latency. But they're working on implementation of that. We should be getting it soon, I believe. I don't think it's out just yet, but it should be coming to xCloud soon.
Yeah, they mentioned it in a stream about Microsoft, of all things, Microsoft Flight Simulator. There was a forum, the weekly community forum, where the game devs talk with the community, and this support for keyboard or mouse came up in the stream, and they confirmed that it's on the way.
Yes. So those of you, get ready for it.
And now it's time for our week ahead segment.
Yeah, I'll let you get first because you have very exciting things to talk about.
Yeah, more hardware. The Dell 274K USB-C Hub Monitor, otherwise known as P2723QE. It's a USB-C Hub
Just rolls
monitor
off the tongue.
with a little magnetic speaker bar at the bottom where you're able to not have to plug physical speakers into your monitor. And it's a nice little communications hub, especially if you're doing Teams calls or a lot of Zoom calls or Skype calls. It looks awesome, it performs awesome, and my full review should be coming by the end of next week.
I'm looking forward to that. Then we have Qualcomm Snapdragon Developer Kit.
Yeah, I ordered one off of eBay and the Snapdragon Developer Kit. If you guys don't know what it is, it's basically a little mini tower PC, not tower PC, just a little tiny PC that fits in the palm of your hand that has a Snapdragon 7C chip inside. And it's intended for developers to code apps and different games and stuff for Windows on ARM, basically. So, what is this like? I was curious. I want to know what would life be like living with the world's first mini Qualcomm Snapdragon PC in my hand. So there we go. I'll do hands-on with it next week.
Yeah, and I have the ThinkPad P17 Gen 2 coming in. So this is their performance laptop, which comes with a Intel Core i9.
Wasn't that just
And
announced at CES? Or is
yeah,
yeah.
and so and so the i9 is coming in. I mean that particular configuration. We also have 64 gigabytes of memory, an Intel WM590 chipset, an NVIDIA RTX A5000 16 gigabyte GDDR6 as well with that. We got four memory slots for DDR of RAM as well. Well, I don't know if they'll give me all of that space for that. And then we can also, which gives you enough space to do 128 gigabytes of memory. So, I mean, for all those people that were just like, drooling over the new M1 Ultra or whatever, this, if I can get my hands on both, I can test them both and see how well these do. And this is in a laptop, by the way, not just the clunky mini tower PC as Apple introduced. So it'll probably be loud, it'll probably be heavy, but it'll be fun to kind of test out and see if I can, get all ray tracing stuff done in developer mode and do all the CAD stuff that I normally do and add more textures and things like that. So I got a beast of a computer coming up to try out. I'm wrapping up my Legion Tower PC and I'm boxing this up. So hopefully you guys will be getting this soon. I'll see if we can start the giveaway website for you guys and get some contestants on here. And I believe that's it on my end. Oh, and my 4K Nexigo webcam monitor testing. I don't have it set up here, but I have set it up at home, and it's amazing. And I think it's selling for like 120 bucks or something like that. So for those of you who want a great 4K webcam without doing a DSLR, this might be an option for you.
Yeah, we always have the fun toys here on podcast.
Yes, and keep them coming, people. We love them.
All right, and that said, I think we hit the end of the show now, so I'll leave you for the traditional outro.
Yeah, you can find me at Mindhead1 on Twitter. Where can people find you?
ABAC Journ.
Yeah, and for all news on about Microsoft or Microsoft related news or tangentially related to Microsoft, you can visit us on Microsoft.com, or you can go down Microsoft at Twitter as well. Just type it in the search. Our Twitter handle should pop up first at the top. We are, I believe, validated. I think we have a blue check mark, if I'm not mistaken. So we are official. And for those of you who are into gaming, I always mention this every week. You can go visit our Pinterest page on Microsoft. Just put in the hashtag, and all the pins are up there, and Brad's doing a great job of that, keeping us updated on those things. Visit our Instagram if you want to see out some memes or check out some old clips from old podcasts. I believe that should be it.
All right, everyone, and as always, see you again soon. Same place, same time.
Yeah, everyone stay safe. We are kind of crawling out of from underneath the rock, so do it slowly, do it carefully, and I look forward to seeing all of you hopefully in person soon.
Take care, everyone.